Hello everyone! Episode 50 is finally out, which means it's time to explore all the secrets and Easter eggs in detail. Titan Cameraman is back with a huge upgrade, but I assure you, you didn't notice all of his improvements. Why did all the TV mans disappear, and how did the Skibidi Toilets know where the cameraman base was? I will tell you everything in this video and analyze in detail all the hidden moments, so watch until the end to not miss anything. Let's go! So the episode starts in the lab that we saw in the previous episodes. We hear a siren sound and a red glow. Fun fact, there's a 2-eye retinal reader in the corridor. Meanwhile, mostly inside the complex are only cameramen who have a camera lens instead of eyes. Let's turn our attention to what's going on around us. On the right, Speakerman is putting strange bolons on the body of a cameraman. Maybe it's extra protection, or maybe it's explosives, and they want to use him as bait for Skibidi and then blow him up. On the left, the scientist is giving another cameraman a device. I really didn't get a good look at whether he's holding it in his hand or if it's an extension of his hand. You'll see what I'm talking about from here. The guys sitting near the exit look very sad, and as we walk outside, we realize what's up. A huge mob of upgraded Skibidi Toilets are making their way inside the lab. The description of this episode doesn't include a map, which means Defuk probably made it himself. Just before the gate, there's a car with an anti-parasite cannon. We saw that in episode 39, the cameramen tried to free Titan Speakerman from the parasite with it, but they failed. There's also another one of these machines a little farther away, and on the roof is a similar weapon firing a blue beam. Perhaps it's a defensive cannon, or they all deal damage to any Skibidi Toilet. But we remember that in episode 38, G-Man Toilet took a shot from such a cannon on himself and was unharmed. In any case, the Alliance is going to free the Titan Speakerman from the Skibidi parasite. Notice that as we exit, we see a huge protective structure made of metal pins fall down, and an explosion follows. The Skibidi Toilets make their way to the entrance of the lab. We see a scientist pointing the way to the others. A big cameraman carrying a wounded comrade with something sticking out of his chest. Another cameraman running to the right with a severed arm. Apparently outside the gate there was clearly a battle going on between the Alliance and the Skibidi. Strange that the scientist was furthest away. I didn't think they were going out to fight the toilets, though we've seen in past episodes that the scientists were near the battles. He's clearly not recommending us to run forward, by the look of his gesture. But the one I didn't expect to see in this episode is Plunger Cameraman. He heroically walks towards the Skibidi monsters while everyone else is running away. This moment made me admire this character. I thought the dead cameraman in last episode was Plunger Cameraman, but he wasn't. Apparently there are many of them with a black camera. Maybe they're improved or more skilled, but Plunger Cameraman is one, and he survived. Why isn't he afraid to go up against the Skibidi Toilets, who are much bigger and stronger than he is? Perhaps he's just very strong mentally, or he has a secret ability we haven't seen yet. Either way, he still hasn't fought the toilets in this episode. Here we see the remnants of a defense wall, the exact same one that was broken by the Skibidi a little earlier. This tower is a regular structure from Half-Life, and the sign on it is the City 17 logo. This is not a reference, but only tells us that the creator made this map himself using parts from Half-Life. Let's take a closer look at Skibidi monsters. On the right is a Skibidi Strider. We saw a similar one in episode 47, but it had 4 laser cannons. The new Strider has 2 rocket launchers. In the distance, there are 2 Skibidi Spiders with a machine gun on the bottom. This is the one that Titan Cameraman crushed with his fist on his first appearance. Here you can see 2 upgraded toilets. As we remember, the gray toilets are fire-resistant and stronger. Here is this device instead of a cistern already used in other versions of the toilets. What it's for is not clear yet, but you can't flush this toilet. Well, and in the center we see a huge fire-breathing Skibidi Toilet. His eye protection looks like a panel welded to his head. Apparently, the toilet scientist is not sparing the rest of them and is making more and more insane inventions to win. What is interesting is if Skibidi has other scientists working on creating these monsters. In early episodes, we saw one of Skibidi's hangars with several toilets and a Skibidi cat. But back to the main monster. It is completely made of metal and rides on wheels. The design is similar to the R2-D2 from Star Wars. Before he spews flames from his mouth, we see 3 large cameramen and a regular one running away from the attack. But they are not lucky. They are trapped in a wall of flame. On the right, Toilet breaks one of the defense towers with a spinning weapon. We saw the same one at the vacuum toilet, and remember how hard it hit the Titan TV man. During the explosion, you can see the broken fence that lies a little further away. The flying SWAT toilets are also armed with grenade launchers. But it looks like each of them can only fire once, because then they have to go back and reload. Just like the machine gun on the bottom, the grenade launcher makes them vulnerable, because such creations can't stand and drive on the ground. They appear to be disposable. That said, it's not like the huge Skibidi Titan helicopter from episode 49, because that one was much bigger. But in episode 44 we saw similar toilets, but they had machine guns on the sides. Maybe they've been upgraded now. We see the defense tower closest to us start to fall before the shot is fired. And in the beginning, we saw one of the cameramen running on it. Looks like the poor guy's in trouble. The beam from the defense cannon blows up the SWAT toilet because it hits the rocket in the grenade launcher and it explodes. Cameraman, who is running in the distance, managed to escape. Note that the R2D2 toilet has small wheels. This is the second wheeled toilet we've ever seen before. But the event we've all been waiting for is happening. The Titan that hasn't shown up since episode 23 is finally appearing. He really hasn't been improved for nothing for so long. Notice the faces of the Skibidi spiders when they see him. It's even funnier when you remember that Titan destroyed exactly the spider toilets. Let's take a look at Titan's improvements. First of all, he now has a hammer, which is also improved by Jetpack's turbine. A similar turbine was on Titan TV Man's back, but this one has a blue flame. It's needed to boost hits by the huge hammer. On his left arm, we see an interesting cannon. First, it puts out a glow similar to that of Cameraman's core, after which it blasts anyone in its path. As we remember earlier, when Titan defeated Triple Toilet, the effects of the core only caused Skibidi's face to smoke a little. You can see how much Titan's equipment has improved. Incidentally, right where the cannon is now, the engineer cameraman was doing something with a welding machine in episode 23. Also, in addition to the jetpack, Titan now has folding wings. Now he can fly farther and maneuver better. Notice how one of the toilets has turned its neck fully, looking at the incoming cameraman. There's also a sort of camera lens on top of the hammer. Why it's needed is not yet clear. You can also see that Toilet has two spinning blades, and he wants to chop Titan with them. This Skibidi is well prepared, by the way, because he dodges the first blow of the hammer. But the second blow destroys him to pieces, and we see flying shards of toilet bowl. By the way, when Titan lands, it may seem that he has destroyed the gray toilet and the fire-breathing monster, because there are two explosions. But as you can see, R2D2 only flipped over and is now trying to get up and burn the cameraman, and we see a major improvement. Titan's core is now incredibly strong. Cameraman burns the strongest toilet in this episode with blue flames. The surprises don't end there, but first I want to point out that Titan has some sort of machine guns and cannons on top. Maybe it's needed to fly better, but for some reason it looks more like a weapon. Notice that Titan doesn't react to the lasers or the explosion of the rocket. It looks like his body has been enhanced with heavy armor. Now for the most interesting improvement. Perhaps not everyone noticed how his hand turned into a powerful magnet, but almost immediately we see the hand in this place again. But I'll show you. Notice right here how the magnet appears in the place of the glove. Also, when Titan has already pulled the flying toilet to himself, the hand grows back in its place. I can assume that he is capable of instant regeneration, so shots and explosions are not dangerous for Titan. Now let's pay attention to the small details. The core in the chest is now better protected. Before it was just a sticking-out camera lens, but now there's a whole structure with metal claws. There are still the same black upgraded cameras on the shoulders, but I didn't notice the flash on the head. Above the main camera, we see some sort of metal fin with a red light visible at the top. It's probably a laser cannon, similar to the latest invention of the TV Mans. By the way, we don't see any TV Man around. It's very strange that they are not there, because they know exactly where the lab is. In the last episode, they delivered the wounded here. But let's move on to Titan. He has a glowing circle on the sides of his head. His coat is also noticeably longer than it was before. Maybe the construction above the camera is to protect him from parasites. After all, if such a strong fighter is infected and starts fighting on the side of the Skibidi Toilets, the chances of the cameramen will be very low. Titan shows the famous gesture, and all the other cameramen give a thumbs up. I felt this atmosphere of relief and thankfulness. The cameraman almost had no chance, but after all this time, help had finally arrived. This is exactly what was talked about at the beginning of the season. Note that the speakermen don't give a thumbs up. Their usual reaction is to dance, but right now they're still not dancing. Maybe they're sad because their Titan is still infected and can't fight, or maybe they're just in shock at what they've seen. I was shocked to see everything that was going on in this episode. We also see that it's not just a lab, but a huge complex that is many floors high. It may have many sections where they assemble and improve the cameramen and speakermen, but where are the TV men? I still don't trust these guys, as they've already abandoned the other Alliance members in a difficult time. Maybe they just didn't know about the attack on the base in time. Maybe they have another base or are in a separate building. We have yet to find that out. What became of the plunger cameraman who so desperately went into battle alone? Luckily, he survived. We see him right here in this shot when the toilets are no longer around. I really like this guy. He's brave and well-trained. I'm glad he's alive, and I'm sure there's a special role for him in this show. You might think that this cannon works like the hypnosis of TV men, but it doesn't. When Titan destroys the spider from the back, it still works, and Skibidi explodes. Also notice with what sound the fire-breathing toilet rises. Now notice its neck. It looks like it's cut. He seems to rise up on his last breath to try and destroy the Titan, realizing that he's definitely not going to survive anymore. The Skibidi are very selfless in battle. Maybe they are controlled and manipulated like robots. That's why they do such crazy things. I've also noticed that most of the toilet Skibidi go into battle without eye protection. Maybe this is all happening in a very distant location where the TV men never showed up. The war seems to be going global and being fought over a very large area. While Titan was setting the monster on fire with the flames from his core, we see a strange shape on his barrel. It's like another Skibidi Toilet is sitting there controlling him. Yes, it sounds weird because to control these monsters you just need to be safe and use electronics, but then it's unclear to me what it is. If you have any guesses, write in the comments. When SWAT Toilet flies away at the end, we see that his grenade launchers are unloaded and he's become useless. Apparently they really are disposable. By the way, I suspect that the toilets from episode 23 did not survive, because otherwise the Skibidi would have found the cameraman base sooner and tried to attack Titan and the scientists. I suspect the TV men are traitors and told the toilets where the base was. In the last episode, we see them teleporting wounded fighters here. And a little while later, the Skibidi army is already breaking down the fence from the base. That's very strange to me. I'm sure after this episode we'll see the final battle of G-Toilet and Titan Cameraman. Based on how many guns the scientists have invented, speakermen will soon be released from the parasites and join the Alliance side as well. It's scary to think what other inventions of the Skibidi scientist we'll see. Also, I'm expecting a specific plunger cameraman storyline in the next episodes. He really deserves it. And that was me, ISOTOILET. See ya.